Hey everybody, Corey here coming at you with another knife review today. Oh, it's a special one. If you know my channel, you know why this is a special one. Today we are taking a look at the Chris Reeve knives, large Inkosi, and mine's just a itty bitty beat up. We'll talk about that. It's not that beat up, but it's seen some use. We'll talk about that. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. I try to put out, decent content from time to time. The knife inventory is kind of shifting irregularly these days. But let's talk about why this bad boy is going to be an interesting one for my channel in particular. So if you're familiar with my channel, if you're familiar with my opinions, you would know that I've had a Sebenza, I've had an Umnumzan, and now finally I have an Inkosi. This is the exact configuration I wanted. And it happened to pop up on Reddit on the secondary, and it was a really good deal, and I said, yep, I'll take it. But you don't need that much background. But what does matter is you might know, or you might think, that I am a Chris Reeve hater. I can't compare this right now in this video to my Sebenza or to my Umnumzan because they are both gone. My Sebenza, it wasn't bad. I just didn't really like it. And if you want to know all that stuff, you can go watch the Sebenza video. The Umnumzan, I absolutely hated. I absolutely hated it. And again, you can go watch the Umnumzan video if you want to know why. And so it's really easy to think, well, gosh, Corey just hates Chris Reeve. He's got some kind of grudge against Chris Reeve. Spoiler alert, no. And spoiler alert, I'm going to be keeping the Inkosi probably for the rest of my life, and we'll talk about the differences between the Inkosi and the Umnumzan and the Sebenza and why I feel the way that I feel. But first of all, let's just put this here. Let's give you the two size comparisons that everyone is used to seeing. Here it is next to a Spyderco PM2, and interestingly, I'm just now doing this for the first time on the video. This is like 1-for-1 the size of a PM2. I think the PM2 is looking like it comes in, my gosh, an 1/8 of an inch longer in overall length. It's kind of hard to stack them right next to each other, and the camera kind of skews it, but my gosh, yeah, I mean, it's basically the size of a PM2 for reference if you're used to a PM2. And here it is next to the Ontario Knives Rat number 2, and again, I'll try to put it flat so you can see when they're really close. Obviously, it's bigger than the Rat 2. The Rat 2 is pretty small. This is a large Inkosi. This is a large Inkosi, by the way. I guess I should say that since there's a large and a small. Excuse me. Here we are. Let's just get into this. Sorry, I had a coughing fit, choking on my own spit. That's what I get for eating brownies before a video. So again, I'm not just trying to shill my own videos. If you want to get an understanding of what I didn't like about the Sebenza, what I didn't like about the Umnumzan, go watch those videos. But high level, the Sebenza for me, kind of hard to describe, but there was no way for me to hold the Sebenza where it just felt natural in my hand. Maybe that would be different for you. Maybe you love your Sebenza, but there wasn't enough going on with the Sebenza to make me say, wow, I love it so much, and that was at a time where I was really moving through my knives, and I really liked a knife to fidget with. And in the Chris Reeve knives, and we're going to talk about this too a little bit later, the Chris Reeve knives, no BS. There's no BS here. These are not toys. They're not supposed to be toys. They're not supposed to have a drop shot action. It's just how they're built. And maybe that's part of why I like this one now, because I'm at a point where I knew exactly what that was going in. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was getting, and that's what I've got here. The Inkosi is no different. People say the Inkosi, it's a little bit more, you can polish the washers and get it to drop shut and da-da-da-da-da-da. I'll talk about my qualms with that as well. Mine, I have not experienced that. This is just as stiff. Oh my God, if my life depended on it, I couldn't slam this shut. This is just as stiff as the Sebenza or the Umnumzan ever was. And now when I say that, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm telling you, this is not the knife that was built for you to fidget with at your desk, to flip around all day and to go, ooh, wow, click, clack, drop shut. That is not what this does. It's not what the Inkosi does. It's not what the Sebenza does. It's not what the Umnumzan does, right? These knives are no BS, built to work, built to take a beating. The Inkosi is no different. Okay, well, Corey, it sounds like you're not really saying that this is too different than your Sebenza or your Umnumzan. What could you possibly like about this? Well, the Inkosi, for those of you who don't know, it's a little bit thicker. It uses thicker blade stock. There's something about this. I mean, I'm not going to say there's something. The thicker blade stock just gives it a more substantial feeling in my hand. I don't know a better way to describe it, but holding this, I go, yes, that's it. It feels a little bit more like a brick. Feels a little bit more like a brick in your pocket. I'm not going to lie. It carries and you feel it. You're not wearing this to the gym. You don't want this dangling from your shorts as you go for a jog. But man, there's something about it. Chris Reeve knives are built like tanks. And when you thicken that stock up just a little bit, ooh boy, I feel like I can do anything with this knife. Oh my gosh, it's insane. Okay. Oh, is that why you like an Inkosi all of a sudden? No, these finger grooves, man, oh man, I had a feeling this is why I was interested in the Inkosi, right? Because this is really like one of the main differences. The Chris Reeve nerds are going to come in here and go, no, the internals are different and the washer setup and da-da-da-da-da. Your average Joe, not going to know about that, not going to think about that. From a usability perspective, the main difference here from this and like a Sebenza is clearly the handles. It's the notches, right? The Sebenza has none of this, and this one has these notches. And boy, oh boy, it's just heaven. It's absolute heaven. It is somehow, normally these things can kind of bite you on a knife, right? You put in these finger grooves and suddenly you're like, man, if your fingers don't fit it perfectly, you're gonna run into some issues. They're just wide enough, and these big generous scallops right here. It's almost like, man, no matter, you got small fingers, you got big fingers, they're just gonna fit here. I can't quite describe it. You gotta handle one. You gotta get your hands on one. If you thought a Sebenza was just uncomfortable, don't write off Chris Reeve until you hold an Inkosi in your hands. This is wildly comfortable. This is just, oh my God, I just want to use this knife so much. And you can see this little space up here above this choil or this scalloping, whatever you want to call it, this finger groove. You can choke up there. You can choke up there for just a little bit more purchase if that's what you want. Or maybe you got big hands. Maybe you got big hands and your index finger is just a little bit fatter. Or you want to choke up all the way down there on your index finger. My middle finger still rides right on that second finger groove. But if you got like a thickle, meaty, index finger, or like I said, if you really want to get up on this thing and get your thumb up there, it's so comfortable. It's so comfortable. And it's got those wide chamfers on the edge of each of the scales too. It's just wildly comfortable. And I don't know exactly what it is. What is this? What is this white? What's blocking? Oh my gosh, it's my camera. I'm sorry. My camera in the bottom right-hand corner is just blocking this. 1 second. Let me try to fix that. All right, forgive me. I got a kind of new setup here. As you can see, we got silk and whatnot. But yeah, there's also something, this one might come across as kind of stupid to someone. Something about the Insingo blade shape, to me, it works on an Inkosi. I think the Inkosi is very unique with its inlays and with its finger grooves. I think it's just much more artistically fitting for the very interesting Insingo blade, which kind of has like that sharpened swedge on the top. The whole thing is just it's interesting. It's a little bit more artsy. Whereas with the Sebenza, it's like, man, why would you get anything other than the drop point? The Sebenza is so classic, and it's like, just put a classic drop point on it and call it a day. But you can technically get an Insingo blade on a Sebenza. You might want to be careful. Check your local laws, and I don't know if you want to risk it. So this is not quote-unquote sharpened, right? I can do this with my finger. It's not a big deal. But it's a bevel, right? And for legal reasons, you might want to consider that. I don't know where this falls. I don't know if a cop ever saw you with this and he was having a bad day and he would say, that's a dagger. It's a dagger because it's sharpened on both sides. I could see that being some kind of stupid nonsense that happens somewhere. Would I say don't get an Insingo blade because of that? Not necessarily, but times are weird. You never know. But aside from that, look, what does this have over, in my opinion, what does this have over the Sebenza and the Umnumzan? Well, I just hate the Umnumzan. Again, I don't even want to get into that. But compared to the Sebenza, it's more comfortable. It's more interesting. It's more unique. It's a little bit smoother on the action because it's designed a little bit differently. That's it. This is the Chris Reeve that I actually wanted. Again, it's not a fidget toy. But to me, it's smoother. It's more modern. I don't feel as bad paying as much for this knife as I did for a Sebenza. There's something about the Sebenza. It didn't impress me. It felt kind of boring. There just wasn't enough there. With this, I'm down. This, let it be known. I officially do not hate everything Chris Reeve does. I'm not just a hater. I absolutely love the Inkosi. If you're on the fence about Chris Reeve in general and you're trying to figure out which one of these you might want to buy, I would absolutely say do not make a decision until you handle all three of them. And Chris Reeve has more than three, but these are the three that pretty much everyone cares about. The Sebenza, the Umnumzan, the Inkosi, right? The only other thing I'll say, I want to bring it up because I feel like it's topical here, right? Some people have said, ooh, I really like the Inkosi because I can take it apart and ooh, I can sand down these washers. I can polish these washers and I can make it flick open and I can make it drop shut and I can make my Inkosi turn into a fidget toy. No, mine's not. I can turn my Inkosi into a fidget toy and I can make it just like all my other knives. I will say this. That feels very oxymoronic. It feels very square peg, round hole, right? Because think about what you're doing there. What is Chris Reeve's claim to fame, right? Aerospace grade tolerances, right? Oh, it's the tolerances. Everything is so tight. Everything is so perfect. It is fitted as perfectly as possible from the factory. That's the whole point of a Chris Reeve. They're tanky, they're tight, and they're meant to be used, right? Why would you come in here and start screwing with the internals and sanding the washers and screwing with the tolerances that Chris Reeve has gone out of his way to build? Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. If you want a knife that you can fidget with and you are just obsessed with a Chris Reeve, and the Inkosi in particular, because they seem to be the easiest to mod and make them fidgety, look, go get your Inkosi and mod it and do whatever you want with it. But you're fighting an uphill battle and you are literally taking away the thing that makes a Chris Reeve knife a Chris Reeve knife, okay? In my opinion, if you want a fidget toy and a user, just go get a different knife. Go get some other knife on bearings that you also find attractive, that also looks like it could be a good user, and go with that, right? But you're probably an adult. I'm guessing you're an adult. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. Go polish the washers on your Inkosi. But I'm saying it's a little ironic. It doesn't really make sense to me. But yeah, I'll stop ranting about that. Guys, that's pretty much it. I'm done. This doesn't have to be as long as my other videos on the Chris Reeve knives. It's great. It's great. I unlike the other ones where I was like, you got to really like it and, make sure, handle one in person because you might not like it. I would almost be so confident as to say, go get an Inkosi, right? Some people have said, oh, I don't think it cuts as good because the stock is thicker. I mean, technically that's probably true. It's thicker stock. It's going to have more resistance going through material, but I can tell you this thing cuts. It cuts like a dream. It's a knife. At the end of the day, it's not like, I can't cut cardboard because it's so thick. No, it's not that thick. But I guess, in terms of EDC cutting tasks and whatnot, technically a Sebenza is thinner than the Inkosi stock. But yeah, that's it. That's what I'll leave you with. I do not just hate Chris Reeve. I absolutely love this. I hope it does actually last long enough to, pass down to my kids one day. I am proud of this knife. It will be staying in my collection. I have not written off Chris Reeve at this point. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all next time.